Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Monday, October 21st. And as you are listening to this, the Celtics are officially back. Celtics-Knicks is tonight. Again, this releases on Tuesday. We're recording the day before, but tonight is the Celtics season opener. Weirdly enough, like obviously the summer was dreadfully long, but it does also just feel like they just won the title. Do you know what I'm saying? Like simultaneously
A little
feels
bit.
like very long, but also like it feels like yesterday I was in Dallas and then back home and covering the team, winning the championship. So it's a weird feeling, but I couldn't be more thrilled that we have a new season of Celtics basketball. And I guess also weirdly enough, like they didn't actually make any moves, but I also do feel like there's a decent amount of intrigue with the team, with Xavier Tillman and Luke Cornett getting more minutes, Porzingis being out for so long. Like, what will the shot breakdown look like this year? Is Derek White going to take a step? Like, I think it's just the addiction and the need to watch actual basketball again. But I am very happy that there's actual stuff to cover again. How you doing, Sam?
I'm great. For the same reasons as you, just to pile on, it's an awful lot easier to make content when there are games being played, and it's much easier to write and cover the team that way instead of having to make stuff up in your head. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, we did it. We did it all summer. As you're hearing this, there's a game today, the game that counts. The day that they get their championship rings, the day the banner goes up. Two of us will be there. It's going to be an excellent day. I cannot wait. I'm pretty excited as we're recording on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And if they lose, sky falling.
Yeah, I'm super sky falling. I'm super pumped up. I cannot wait for tonight, or tomorrow night, I guess for me. But you know what I'm saying. But anyways, let's jump right into the show we have today, starting with Mr. Jayson Tatum, who had some very high praise for the city of Boston in general. He did a sit down with Mark Spears of Anscape. Sorry, I had something in my throat, and basically expressed how much he loves the city of Boston and how much he has developed a connection to the city of Boston since coming here as a rookie. He said, "Time flies. Was drafted in 2017. My son was born here, bought my first car here. For me, I admire and love the relationships I've built within the organization. All the coaches that I've had, obviously the front office, security guards, trainers, chefs, the fans, the people that work at TD Garden, the ball boys that do our laundry, the relationships I've built over the last 7-8 years. I can't imagine starting over and leaving them or this place. Obviously, it's a lot more, and I'm grateful for all that has come my way, but more so, they want me to be here. I understand that I got a footprint in helping build the Celtics legacy, a small part that I feel like I'm part of. There are a bunch of 10-year-olds in Boston who will feel like I'm a part of their childhood. Quote, I grew up watching him play at the Garden. I grew up watching him win championships. In a sports town like Boston, that's special to be a part of," which is just like, everybody who has ever rooted for the Celtics and continues to root for the Celtics is reading that like, fuck yeah, like let's like
Crying.
that should get you amped up.
On the show.
Yeah, that's what's it's all about in Boston. And to hear a guy who like Jayson Tatum, who doesn't usually get, I don't want to say sentimental, but doesn't usually talk in this way. He's usually pretty reserved, usually pretty quiet. Like, it's nice to hear. Yeah, he's just a pretty reserved guy. It's fun to hear him open up like that a little bit about the city.
Yeah. So what's great about this is has been Jayson Tatum has been a player throughout the majority of his career here that people, especially in his rookie contract years, that were like, he's going to leave someday. He's a flight risk. And then he signs the extension, and then they start winning a lot more, and they start going to conference finals on his back. He was the guy. The first contract, it was almost like he always had like somebody who was always the number one, whether it was Kyrie, it was meant to be Kemba, and then he took over and really became the man in the bubble playoffs. Now we're at contract number 3, the Supermax, and he's like, listen, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. I like it here. And considering that he's won a championship, it shouldn't come as a surprise. He got to experience the embrace that you get from the city when you do something like that. The parade was a spectacle. The two of us were there. There were so many people out there decked out in Celtics green and white. The turnout was excellent. I think they said it was over 1 million people. It was just a great scene. The finals as a whole were a great experience to see. I mean, you were there, I wasn't, but seeing it on TV, I did a write up on Pritchard's heaves today, so I watched like those clips again. Just the reaction that they get from competing and going out there and winning games from the fans is excellent. So, yeah, every Celtics fan, whether it's us, your parents, your eventual kids, they will have a player that they are like, that guy was a part of my childhood. I grew up watching him play. Tatum is that, like he says, for these kids, we had Paul Pierce, Isaiah Thomas, I suppose, and then, everybody had Larry and Bill Russell and so on. But seriously, it's an honor.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like, or feels like, I should say, since Tatum joined the Celtics, he like sort of understood. Obviously, it is developed throughout the years, and he's grown as a person and as a Celtic and as a basketball player and all that stuff. But like, you look at some of these interviews from his rookie season, and he even looks up. He's like, "Yeah, I want to be that. I want to be a part of that. I want to help raise a banner." And tonight, as you're listening to this, he's going to do just that. Al Horford and Pritchard talked about it a little at practice. I mean, I would say Horford more significantly just because of how much he's meant to the team for as long as he has. And he was like, "I don't even know what it's going to feel like. You can ask me after. I'm just excited to enjoy that moment with the fans and with everybody." And so seeing those guys get their ring, seeing them raise banner 18, and the way Tatum is talking about the city, the way Jalen and Al and everybody has talked about the city, sort of just embracing it and being a part of it. It's fun to hear. It's fun to listen to. And you don't, it's rare that you get an organization like this. Like there's really only a handful in the league. Like the Lakers are like that. The Warriors are like that. The Knicks are like that. Just like, even if the franchise doesn't have the same amount of titles as Boston, just playing in a city with a big as market as that, with a dedicated fan base as that, and knowing that they're behind you and supporting them back, I suppose, and showing the love back. Like it's very rare in sports that you get a city and a fan base like that and a player as willing to embrace it, like Tatum has in Boston.
It's true. There aren't as many franchises as we would all like to think that will give players that. And it's kind of funny, like, you not to like throw stones here, but like you see players get drafted to like Charlotte, and you just know, like, you look at Brandon Miller, and like that guy's a good player, and he's gonna be good for a little while here. He has the makeup for it and everything. He's probably gonna be there for at least 9 years, the way contracts work. He's not gonna get to experience the things that Tatum or Curry, or and take your pick of players that play, Jalen Brunson, play for these franchises, get to experience until at least a decade, because that's how long you have to be with a team before you really get to become a free agent. It stinks. I mean, listen, if they are good, they're going to get love, but
I
they
was
don't
gonna
really
say,
fill seats when the team's bad. Where the Knicks, they sell out no matter what.
I will say, I do think there is an element to it where building an organization yourself, like obviously it wasn't to the same level, but like the way Charlotte loves Kemba is like equal to or on the same level as all these big cities because of how much he embraced the fan base. Like if you really want to deep it, the Warriors were not in a great spot when Curry got there, and he
Correct.
sort of built them into this major market, like putting them in position to be this big market that they are now. And so their love for Stephen Curry is unlike anything you'll ever see. And so you look around the league and the guys like that, like there is a special relationship that those guys can build with their smaller market teams and stuff like that. Like Zach Randolph has his number retired in Memphis because of how much he dedicated to that city. And people laugh like, why the hell does he have? Because like in a small market, his willingness to, go to war for that city and go to war for that franchise, like that meant something to them because they don't have the same draw. They don't have the same, giant fan base. And so there is something to that. But to hear the mix of dedicated fans and committed players where Tatum is praising the city and the organization like this, like it's fun to hear as somebody who covers a team or as a fan who has watched the team for his entire career. So shout out Tatum. I mean, it's hard to picture a better person to be the leader of your organization. Like so many guys around the league now have like all of this potential baggage. You're like, whether it's John Morant or Anthony Edwards or like some of these guys who are like obviously young stars, but like have all this stuff that people are like, well, this is a questionable thing. And Jayson Tatum doesn't have that. And for all the flaws that you throw at him, LeBron James doesn't have that. Steph Curry doesn't have that. Like there are few and far between of guys who have the willingness to embrace a fan base and also none of the potential baggage that may come with that being that popular.
Right, exactly. And the Celtics got very lucky with that. And not to mention him, but also Jalen. Like Jalen is also an incredible person to have at the top of the franchise. And I think they both kind of have an appreciation for that too. Like the responsibility that they hold with being the faces of the team and the organization being as historically rich as it is. getting to be one of the figures that is responsible for the continued success is nothing to sneeze at, and that's kind of what he's saying here. So, overall, we should be very happy about this. It's just great news. It's good that he's happy. It's a good message for other players, whether they're in the league now or growing up and seeing this happen, where they can think to themselves, "It would be nice to play in Boston." Because, people like us, we say it all the time. I say it all the time. I'm like, "Who wouldn't wanna play for the Celtics?" The fans are great. The history is great. There's tradition. They have, like, a I don't wanna say, like, a moral code, but there is something about being a member of the organization that is elevated compared to some others. You just feel like it's a little bit more special, and I just never understood, I actually mentioned it to somebody this week. The Anthony Davis's dad thing where he was just shitting on him because of Isaiah, I get it, but it was just always so bizarre to me. I was like, "Yeah, shut the fuck up, dude." Like, the organization historically is pretty great. They've done a lot of great things for the league. They've been one of the pioneers, and they continue to do so going, into the present. They've just been excellent.
For sure. Next thing, we'll do a brief look ahead at Celtics-Knicks tonight. I mean, there's only so much you can talk about it. I mean, it's mostly like it's kind of the subplot because it's ring night. So Celtics-Knicks, the actual game, is kind of the second, story of the evening. But going to be the first look at Karl-Anthony Towns in a Knicks uniform. Going to be the first look at Mikal Bridges in a Knicks uniform. Also, have you seen his jump shot? I don't know if you were on Twitter when that
I've
was going
seen
around.
this. It's a real shame that he forgot how to shoot. I don't know what happened.
It is crazy. I do think it'll be more of a growing pains thing because I mean it does look ugly, but I think his jump shots always looked ugly. But it'll be the first look at the new look Knicks. First look at Tillman and Cornette and some of the Celtics rotation heading. But the Knicks one of the better teams in the East contending against the Celtics. I think I just lagged, but I don't know how much you heard.
I
but
heard.
it should be a good one. So I'm excited to watch.
We're starting off hitting the ground running. I don't often get worked up about regular season games. One of the games I always get worked up about is the Knicks. I just hate their fans. They're the most insufferable people, probably besides the Lakers fans. Lakers and LeBron people are the worst, but the Knicks fans are almost as bad. Because if they win tomorrow, they'll have a championship parade in the streets and hang the banner for opening night champions. And they're a good team this year. Like, they have good players. They have some question marks for sure. They're not as deep as a lot of teams are. They're certainly not as deep as the Celtics, but they have a very good starting five, a competitive starting five. They have a good coach who has the players play the right way, and they play hard. Like, they are going to be a problem for plenty of teams in the East, and they're certainly the clear-cut second behind the Celtics. They could come out and really ruin the fun tomorrow. But at the same time, even if the Celtics lose this game to the Knicks, it's funny because the Knicks fans will love it, but, "Oh, we ruined your ring night." Nobody can ruin the Knicks ring night because they just don't have them. That doesn't happen there. They don't win championships. It's not part of their culture. But we're gonna get some good hoops for sure. Brunson versus Tatum and Brown is gonna be very interesting to watch on top of the two wing defenders with Bridges, who can't shoot anymore, and OG Anunoby, who are both brought into this team to defend Tatum and Brown. Gonna be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the offensive spacing looks like with Karl-Anthony Towns out there. Like last year, Jalen Brunson was driving into just crowds and crowds in the paint because they
Right.
didn't have any of that. And now they have one of the best shooting big men in the league, which is just I don't think you could have more of a difference in spacing. And then defensively, I think Karl-Anthony Towns isn't as bad of a defender as people rag on him for, but it is going to be interesting to see how much the Celtics attack him and Brunson because they just are the weakest links in that lineup, right? And the Celtics have enough talent in all the positions. Maybe Al isn't at that same level anymore. Definitely not at the level of Porzingis is when he's healthy. But if they attack those guys in the pick and roll, are the Knicks switching? Are the Knicks dropping back? Because if Karl-Anthony Towns is playing drop coverage, the Celtics are going to kill them, right? The Celtics kill drop coverage as we see with Jakob Poeltl and some of those other traditional centers. But are they comfortable with Karl-Anthony Towns guarding Tatum and Brown on the perimeter? Weirdly enough, if I'm Tibbs, I say yes. As it's sort of like the Luka, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser aspect. It's obviously not ideal, but having him step up and guard those guys on the perimeter is going to be better than having him drop back and just getting death by threes. So I'm really curious to see what those things look like, the spacing for the Knicks and that, and then just sort of how Joe Mazzulla decides to run the rotation, like, is he going to go exit the 4? Is he going to, start Cornette? No. But like, what are different things going to look like in the rotation? How much is Pritchard going to play? How much is Hauser going to play? Does Jordan Walsh see the floor? Like, I'm very excited because I do think there's a lot of small subplots that Celtics sicko fans should be interested in. So I'm very excited. But PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on PrizePicks for every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks because it's gone when September ends. Also, you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sam and I used PrizePicks all season long while on How Bout Them Celtics pregame shows. We picked Jayson Tatum dunks, we picked Drew Holiday steals, we picked a ton of stuff, especially during the finals when Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, we were kind of preying on their downfall. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly. When you play $5, that's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Speaking of sicko, Joe Mazzulla had a fantastic monologue at Celtics practice today when asked about pressure. He was asked about the pressure of this team. Yeah, I'm going to pull up the video because it is a ridiculously long quote. There was another quote that I don't have the, what's it called? Video for. Maybe I do. Let me see. Also, I was finding some receipts because my whole article was like, people were so wrong about this guy, like people were wanting him to be fired, and I found a Reddit article, or a Reddit post that was titled, "That quote, Joe Mazzulla has been fired by the Celtics tweet is going to hit like crack," which is just embarrassing at this point.
It's a very tough hindsight look. At the time, there were real questions. I don't think we were like, they got to figure this out. I don't know if we necessarily wanted to be against Joe, but at the time it was a very difficult look losing to that 8 seed Heat team going down 3-0. It's just so funny how different things were the year after, where he was the motivation guy and he had his guys playing at the highest level. And the question was, these guys, why don't they respect him? Where they clearly have the utmost respect for Joe now.
I'm listening to these Reddit, like, look at this. Excuse me. Look at these Reddit comments. He just signed the extension, bro. He's back for at least another year. I can't believe people still think he'll be back. It's untenable for him to return. They have no choice. I fucking hate that guy, but goddamn, we would run through teams with Nick Nurse. I'd like to see that happen in the middle of a game. At this point, the only chance this roster makes history, firing Mazzulla in the middle of game 4, third, call him out, get him out of here. If Wick is serious about Banner 18, he'll fire him and just chalk it up. Wild. Just based on how much the team has rallied around Joe, it's insane to hear people talk about him that way. But first, Joe was asked about pressure, and the quote was, "Zero pressure. We're all going to be dead soon, so it doesn't really matter anymore." So zero pressure. You're either going to win or you're not. It's not pressure. It's an opportunity. And then he went on a monologue when I think it was John Corrales. I wasn't in the scrum because I was talking to somebody else. He was in, I think it was John Corrales who asked him, like, what is the pressure like? How do you handle it? And Joe went on a monologue basically saying, it's not pressure, they're just words. And I'm just going to play it because I can't do it justice.
Human, like rolling the dice and all of that stuff. Like, how do you bridge that? Because you have to live in both worlds. Yeah. How do you manage that?
I just don't look at it as pressure. Because like a Boston media member or somebody expecting me to win, like they don't have a weapon, like they're not gonna like come after me if we don't win. Like it's a whole word. So like they don't mean anything. They're just words. You're just saying them because you have to say them. You're contractually obligated to write a 500-page article after or word article after. They're just words. You can't do anything. And so it's just a made up word. We don't have a pressure. If we lose, we're not losing our life. Like we're not surgeons. We're not like in the military. We coach basketball for a living. And no one's putting more pressure and expectations than we are on ourselves. And it's like we have a responsibility and we have an ownership. And like I ask guys all the time, like, would you rather have someone expect you to lose or win? Like if you came up to me and be like, man, I really expected you to lose that game, I would be pissed. But it's like if you come up to me like you should have won that game, it's like, yeah, that's what we signed up for, you know. So I think it's just the perspective of how you look at it and like the truth of it, you know.
But words have power.
No, they don't. If you let them, like if you allow words to take your personal power, then yes. So I don't allow words to take my personal power, and like that's just important. Like words don't have it; they only have power if you allow them. And like that's what I try to teach my kids. It's like I don't give a shit what someone says to you. Like, did you allow that to have an impact on you? Like he didn't put his hands on you, he didn't touch you, he didn't like do anything. He said something to you. So now you have a choice to like decide how you're going to interpret that. So like it's not pressure. There's nothing anyone in this circle can do to me that's going to impact my identity and who I am as a person or a person. We're either going to win or we're not. And 40 years from now, none of you are invited to my funeral, and that's it. That's it.
Just an all-timer from Joe. I mean,
the dude's such a troll, man.
Well, no, I don't think he's trolling at all. I think he's completely serious.
It's such he is being serious, but he's also such a fucking troll.
I don't think so at all. I think every single word that comes out of Joe Mazzulla's mouth, he believes with 100% of his being. And I think shit like this is what makes him such a phenomenal head coach. Cause like ever since he's joined the team, and this came up when I was talking, I'll say it, I'm doing a feature story on Xavier Tillman. I talked to him today. And one of the things he said about like when he joined Boston and like his connection with the team is what makes it so good is that it's a business to them. Like they play basketball for a living. And obviously they love basketball, but like it is work and they don't make it anything more. And he told me about how like a lot of players around the league will play it and take their frustrations home with them. But Joe Mazzulla has done such a good job of like establishing this culture where it is work. Do not take that home with you. Like, go be a human. Like, there is you, the basketball player, and there is you, a person. And I think that perspective is what allowed the Celtics to be so successful last year, and what will allow them to continue to be successful moving forward. And I mean, he's not wrong. Like, if I write something tomorrow on Hardwood Houdini says Joe Mazzulla sucks at his job, needs to be fired, why the hell does he care what I have to say, right? And if he says something, exactly, and if he says something about me, why do I care? Like nothing anybody ever says about anybody else should be taken with like the notion that you should change what you do or who you are or anything like that. For example, like LeBron James doesn't give a fuck what you think. People don't like him. Not. He doesn't care. He's living his life. And if he said some shit about you, why the fuck would you care? Like it is a personal choice to allow what others say about you to affect you. And I think that perspective is allowing the Celtics to be as good as they are. And so as funny as it is to hear Joe say, like, we're going to be dead sooner, you're not invited to my funeral. Like, what he means is, like, I care about the opinions of my family and my friends and those close to me. And this is a job, and I'm going to treat it as such. And I respect that you have a job to do, and you respect that I have a job to do. But, like, that's not going to affect me. So there is no pressure other than the internal pressure, quote unquote, that they put on themselves. And so I think that perspective is just what a lot of coaches like not lack, but he is so open about it. And I think that honesty is what makes him so impressive.
The best thing that has come out of this Joe quote is Jim Packard quoting the clip and going, I'm not saying we should arm Jay King and Brian Robb, but I'm not saying that we should give them weapons to bring into the practice facility. Man, Joe Mazzulla is the best. And whether he is trolling or serious, what he's saying does have meaning. Like, you can't discount the way that you took away from that. And like, I think he means it. Like we don't have an effect on his job, really. I mean, I suppose if it's prolonged and the front office starts to believe it, then sure. But they have their own opinions. They're smarter than we are. Our opinion doesn't really matter to them. Just the way that he thinks about it and lays it out is like knockdown funny. And his delivery is funny. He is just talking in such extremes that I don't think anybody but him would think about. And that's the best part.
No, I know what you mean. It is. I enjoy listening to him speak this way, because I was talking to Josh Paredes, who was like fan side and NBA director, because I was going to write about it, and he made the point. He's like, it's very pop-esque, and it is. Like, hearing him say, like, none of you are invited to my funeral in 40 years. Why do I care what you think? That is like bar for bar something that Greg Popovich would say. And I think the reason so many people, and I wrote about this for Hardwood Houdini, so many people were wrong about Joe is because they were so focused on like, look at the timeouts, look at this, blah, 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 like all these like small minutiae in game, which like fair, like he turned out to be a lot better at them than he was, but like as silly as it sounds to call a coach a rookie, like that was his first year. And what makes Joe such a great coach is something he wasn't able to implement in his first season. Because like his best asset is being able to implement a culture and a style that separates the basketball player and the human, that puts into perspective everything that you're doing, that, you know, tells you to love the game and play the right way, but also like live your life and be a normal person. And I think that's why the Celtics are such a close knit group. And you just can't have that in your first season as a head coach, because it takes longer than that, especially with the way Joe Mazzulla was thrown into the fire to like set that standard and create that environment. And I think that's Joe's strongest asset. And now that he has been here for going into his third year, he's been able to establish that. And in as much as they had a great team, like there have been plenty of teams in NBA history who have built this, you know, insane roster that failed because they didn't have the right culture or environment in place. And Joe Mazzulla was able to help them cultivate that. And I think that's what makes them so good. Yeah. Look at the Sixers, look at the Nets, look at the Suns, look at all these teams that have paid a lot of money to have such great players on their teams. And it hasn't worked. Like that, this like a part of it is what Joe Mazzulla has helped establish in Boston.
Joe Mazzulla and Kyrie having like a face-off would have been, we were all robbed, to be honest with you. That would have been one of the most interesting clashes of personality that you could ever see.
I think they would get along.
Space. They probably would get along, but there still would be like differences in the weirdness. Like they're both freaks mentally, but like they would get it done. Maybe, I don't know.
I think they'd get along real well. At least this version of Kyrie.
We also have breaking news. Jaylen Brown sit down with Stephen A. wearing the State Your Source t-shirt.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was at the Airhawk today, and I just hear, "How you guys doing?" I'm like, I turned around and it's just Stephen A. walking behind us, and I was like, "What the hell is he doing here?"
Pretty
he goes,
cool.
"Yeah." I hear him go, "G Money," and he just walks over to Gary Washburn and says, "What's up?" That makes sense. Okay, I was like, "Why the hell is Stephen A. at the Auerbach Center?" But
I mean, he'll probably be around tomorrow too. Probably maybe bump. Well, TNT has the game.
Yeah, TNT has the game, so probably not. But yeah. Oh, I guess that makes sense. I'll have to watch
Stephen
that
A's
later.
cool,
Did it drop, or is it just like being teased?
Said coming later today, and that was 18
see.
minutes ago.
I
So
see.
by the time you're hearing this, it's out.
Yeah, go check that.
I like Stephen A. He's
fun.
just in a different space than people think he is. I think like they don't recognize what Stephen A. is, and then they get mad.
I think the problem,
he's a wrestling character.
Stephen A. is not the problem. The problem is people who try to be basketball analysts but are actually Stephen A. Stephen A. knows what he is, and he plays his role well.
And he's actually smart. Like he has a career in this field where he was covering the Sixers on a beat and the insider for ESPN for years. Like he's somebody who's very tied in. Yes.
Yeah. He's chilling. He's good. Also, we covered the Bill Russell bridge naming yesterday, right? I feel like we should talk about that, but I think we did it in the Reddit video.
We did. Yeah, because we were like, is it the Zakem Bridge? And then we Google mapped it.
The Washington Bridge for Twitter. Money was very cool. But I love going to watch football in person. It might not be Sam's taste, but I personally love going to watch a Pats game, even though they're not in the best place right now. I saw them play the Chiefs last year, and even though Kansas City absolutely won the game, it was still a great time, and I make sure to get all my tickets through Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Me and my friends are going to see the Red Sox tonight, and guess what? Game Time was the choice. You can pick the great deals, and like I just mentioned, you can filter out all the fees, you can filter out everything to make sure you are getting the best deal possible. That is my favorite thing, getting to know what the exact price is before I purchase, because I know I'm getting the best deal on Game Time. You can see the view from your seat, you get the lowest price guaranteed, even if it's canceled. Cancellation protection is great. It's the perfect app to buy all your tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and everything else. I saw Noah Khan this summer, and guess what? Game Time came in clutch. All in pricing, again, my favorite thing. Toggling this feature shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. dive into the email here. A reminder, as always, if you can still hear me because I have the Wi-Fi symbol.
You are here.
You guys can email us at hbtcpod@gmail.com. Again, hbtcpod@gmail.com. I was talking to Danny, old friend of the show, yesterday, and he goes, "You guys have an email?" I said, "We have for years." He goes, "You shouldn't have told me that." But we don't have one from Danny today, so he evidently forgot. We have 4 from RJ, the GOAT of the email, so let's dive in real quick. The Lonnie saga from RJ. Hey, folks, here's a different take on Lonnie Walker. Brad and Joe want him, but only if he's capable of playing the Celtics style of basketball. I'm not saying Lonnie hasn't been anything but honest about wanting to play in Boston, but not everyone makes the cut for a number of reasons. Last year, we saw Lamar Stevens and Delano Banton voted off Mazzulla Island. This summer, Brissett and Svi moved on. It may be that in the course of the year, Jaden Bringer will step, or he could fail to integrate everything in game situations. Lonnie might decide he needs NBA money over a shot at playing in Boston. Heck, he might just get tired of learning Mazzulla ball. Either way, there's no reason for the Celtics to pay $11 million for a 10th man scratcher. I wish Lonnie well. I wish Jaden well. Heck, I hope Brissett finds a home too. We just need to see how it plays out. Be well, RJ. Lonnie apparently is getting some interest from, I think it was Madrid, overseas. So
yes, Real Madrid. There are worse places to go play basketball, I would say.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I said it from the start, and I got shit on it. I don't think Lonnie's a good fit on the team. I hope he finds a spot where he is a good fit, but we'll have to see. I guess we'll find out. But
I almost feel bad for Lonnie Walker because he got an unfair amount of attention because they did nothing new this summer. And when that news came, we had been sitting through 2 months of nothing, and we were like, "Holy shit, they did something! What are we? Oh my god, we have something new to talk about." And that's all any pod could talk about. And we all remember the rumors from February. Oh, they're interested in him. He was playing well for the Nets. He had the game for the Lakers, and then it just kind of ends in disappointment. We'll see where he ends up. I'm not convinced that he will play anywhere that's not Maine. I think it would make sense for the Knicks to pick him up on the other hand. And then there's this Real Madrid thing. So there are a lot of if I'm Lonnie, I'm not convinced I'm living in Portland, Maine compared to Madrid.
Yeah, I would choose one or the other very clearly. Next one from RJ again. Most important Celtics question. Morning, folks. Jack, I'll get you my thinking on Toronto. Okay, thank you. But first, I was sidetracked by a very important question. Now that Shireman has 55, what number will Jay Scrub wear in Portland? Like I said, very important. Be well, RJ, and utterly fascinated with uniform minutia.
As am I.
I don't know.
I don't know if we can see. Because when they re-signed or brought Jay Scrub back, he was listed on the website as 55. But the website was all fucky. RJ, you know about the website. You send us emails complaining about how faulty it is. Because Lonnie Walker was on there as 8, and that's Porzingis. So they are all out of whack on the website.
I have no idea what he's going to wear. But he can wear whatever he wants in Maine. Because I don't think do they have the same retired number rules for Maine as they do in the Boston?
No. So, JD wears 3 up there.
Yeah. So I think he can do whatever he wants in Maine. It's just if he ends up in Boston, I'll have to figure it out. But next thing, Jack asks, I answer. Evening, folks. Got done with my first ever fantasy basketball draft earlier this evening. I have all of one Celtic in my roster, Xavier Tillman, respect, but no Sixers, Heat, Knicks, or Lakers. So we'll see how I do. Hell yeah. Jack asked for background on some of my predictions. I'm happy to answer. Philly at 7, Knicks at 8. Crazy. I have the same overall answer, but with slight variations. Too many new pieces, too many injuries to cope with. Yes, the Sixers coped without Embiid for a large chunk of last year and finished just outside the top 6. I think they will manage to win about the same number of games due to accumulated injuries and load management for both Embiid and Paul George. Embiid, who's not playing back-to-backs ever anymore, by the way. Knicks will also have to shuffle parts around to cope with changes, depletions, and injuries. Tibbs is not as crafty as Coach Nick Nurse, and I see New York getting a slow start in the first 20 games. Last year, they started 12-8. This year, I can see them at 8-12 would be enough to drop them back, far enough not to recover. I just don't see it. I think if either of those guys falls out of the top 5, I'll be shocked. But
I don't see it either. I feel like the Sixers are more likely than the Knicks, but like even then,
I agree.
I think the Sixers did a good job of bringing in bench pieces this summer. Like they got some good ads, so I think both those teams will be fine. 7 and 8 is pretty outrageous.
We'll see. Maybe wrong. Toronto at 14. Call it the curse of Detroit moves north, but I don't see the Raptors gelling this year. Not great. No great reason. I think they're still looking to lock in the mindset of compete for the full 48. I could absolutely be wrong, but I'm waiting for the Raptors to prove the regular season. I'm very high on the Raptors this year. I think they could be
one game where they don't miss any shots.
I know, no. I was high on the core of RJ, Emmanuel, quickly, and the rest of them before that. Grady, I will say Grady Dick impressed me enough to be even higher on them in that preseason game because he looks just super comfortable.
Sure.
But I think I was listening to the front office show with Keith Smith and Trevor Lane, and they were saying like there's always a team in the league like that are like the Grizzlies last year that just have a bunch of injuries and aren't as good as you think. And if that team's in the East, the Raptors are one of the teams I could see like moving up and being like a higher play-in team depending on how things shake out. I think they'll be good. Like I said, they have enough like Nets last year-esque pieces where like they would all be really good role players in other teams, but not good like main rotation pieces that I think they could be better if RJ and Scotty and Emmanuel quickly take steps this year.
Yeah, but the Nets were bad last year.
I know, but I think the Raptors have that with better top end talent.
Okay. I mean,
Like,
Scotty's certainly better than anybody that was on the Nets, but at the same time,
exactly,
you can imagine Scotty Barnes being pretty good in a. I don't want to say the exact same Mikal Bridges role because Scotty can't really shoot.
Like I think they could have three
preseason game.
I think they could have 3 20-point per game scores this year.
Mm.
So
yeah,
I
feel like most
I think
teams
they'll be
do.
pretty
No, just kind of how it works.
Definitely not. No,
I guess you score
Definitely
by
not.
committee. Yeah.
No way. I would guess there were less than 10 teams with.
Yeah, I'm very
10,
wrong on that.
Scores. Next thing, Sacramento first in the West. Insane. I like the combination of Fox, Sabonis, and Monk. I think scoring from DeRozan and Dougie McBuckets will help smooth things out. This is a case of consistency winning the day, and Mike Brown working with them for the third year. I understand it from a Sacramento could be a really good regular season team, but I just think first is a lot for the Kings. And I like the Kings a lot. You know how much I love Sabonis, but first is crazy to me.
There's just too many good teams out there. Like, I get it. If Sacramento was meant to be like the fourth best team, maybe you can envision them having a super year. 2 of the other teams that are above them meeting expectations, and then one of them sucking so they can leapfrog them. But what did we have them like 8? Both of us 7, 8. Like they are not really in the serious mix to be towards the top of the West. It's tough to imagine.
I originally had them 6, but I flipped them with the Grizzlies. But we'll see.
Memphis is the team to. Well, obviously I picked them, but like they're the team I think to watch out for if you're picking like a sleeper.
I don't know. I worry they could have a bunch of getting back together bumps. Jaren Jackson's already out for the start of the opener too, by the way, so they're already dealing with injury stuff.
Them handshake Philly, handshake Milwaukee,
handshake Clippers.
Yes.
Lakers fall to 500. I know JJ Redick has been boning up on all sorts of coaching and strategies, but coming in as, quote, the guy who did the pod with LeBron just compounds the Lakers' problems, especially how we get treated to the Bronny show and load management LeBron. It wouldn't be an unmitigated disaster, but even Phoenix with an aging KD will finish higher. I think they'll be like a 44-ish win team too, so that's not far off from 500, so I don't think that's ridiculous. I think we both had them like 7-8-ish anyways. So
yeah, I don't think they're going to be very good.
They'll be fine, and they could maybe make a run in the playoffs just because LeBron is LeBron and AD is AD if they're healthy, but we'll see. I don't know. As with all my predictions, that could be what?
The second they drafted Bronny, you knew they weren't playing for keeps anymore.
We'll see. As with all my predictions, I could be utterly wrong. We'll check them out in April. Be well, RJ. And then last email from RJ for the day. The game of GBB. Morning, folks. As I'm writing this, it is the NBA's equivalent of Christmas Eve. So we're all waiting to unwrap the new season. So let's play a game of good, better, best to pass the time. What does the upcoming season reasonably look like for the Circle of Trust and Stay Ready crew in terms of good year, better year, and likely best year? Again, this isn't, and then Jordan Walsh starts the All-Star game, but just realistic guesses. Be well, RJ. I mean, the starting 5 plus Al is just play well, right? It's just win at a high level. Like it just feels like the whole team, a good year, a better year, likely best year is just win a championship, right? I mean, there's little minutiae for all of them, like X shooting well from 3, Cornette, just staying solid, Cadis showing marginal improvements, Pritchard getting more of a role, Hauser putting the ball on the floor. Like there's little things for every player, but I feel like it's such a team oriented thing in Boston. It's hard to like break down like individual goals.
I think if you separate the starters or the top 6 from the rest, you can imagine the starters just having a good year. The reason for that would be the Porzingis injury / Drew Holiday is clearly going to be the beneficiary of some extra rest. I think in contingency with that, you're going to see a better or maybe even best year from the Stay Ready crew because Pritchard looks like he's primed to play some extra minutes. He looks ready to go. Both Cornette and Tillman look really good so far as well in their respective roles. They look very comfortable. And then Jordan Walsh looks far better than any of us would have thought. Now, this is all through 5 preseason games, but for those guys, the Stay Ready guys, those preseason games are far more meaningful because it's really their opportunity to show what they've done this summer. Nobody's looking for anything from Tatum or Brown or Drew Holiday or Derek White in those preseason games at all. We don't care. We know what they're going to do. We saw them do it in the playoffs. Question marks are always the rotation guys. They all, minus like Springer, passed the test. They looked awesome. So I think better year or best year for the Stay Ready crew, good year for Circle of Trust is really all they're going to need, like you said.
Yeah, and like I said, I think there's small things like Tatum shooting better from 3, Jalen improving his playmaking even more, Drew Holiday just doing his role to the best of his ability, Derek White being even more aggressive, Kristaps Porzingis getting healthy, stuff like that. Like there's little minutiae for everybody, but I think it's pretty broad because the Celtics play such a team-oriented style. But moving on to the NBA here, we mentioned it briefly in the emails there. Khris Middleton is going to be out for the season opener, and it already looks like he's dealing with some injury issues starting up for the Bucks. I'm not as concerned as I think a lot of people are because in my head it was always going to be a Middleton is available for half the season type of year, and I still think they're a fine team without that because, I mean, as much as we shit on them last year, they still won like 49 games. Like they were still a fine basketball team. But it is definitely not great for the Bucks title hopes to see Khris Middleton's already missing time.
Correct. And then, also I forgot to put on here, but I do want to talk about, so we'll tie it into this. Doc Rivers saying he never underachieved or came up short.
Yeah, okay. Sure, buddy.
He said it with an article of The Athletic. Like that's where this came out from, was him being
I
like,
feel
I don't
like
think I've ever underachieved or come up short.
If Doc never won an 08, his entire career would be coming up short.
He wouldn't be coaching anymore.
Yeah. It's
also, yes, if he didn't win in 08, absolutely it would have been coming up short. It would have been a massive disappointment. But not having Middleton for them is not shocking, but it's not a good start. Also, additional context, the Bucks will be in town a week from us recording this. So if he's not playing opening night, he may not play against the Celtics. The Celtics could be the beneficiaries of some early season injury misfortune for Milwaukee. With that being said, I do think that the other two guys are going to come ready to play just throughout the season. Like Milwaukee is a massive chip on the shoulder team. The question is, how long can they stay hungry and angry? I mean, Giannis is already trying to gaslight people into saying that, or gaslight the organization into trading him. It's like, yeah, if we don't make it out of the first round this year or win a championship this year, they might actually look into trading me. Like, yeah, Giannis, I'm sure Milwaukee, one of the smallest markets in the NBA, is going to trade the only like megastar they have had since Kareem. They're going to get rid of you as soon as they have the opportunity.
Well,
the best player.
That's not exactly what he said.
Years they're going to get rid of you.
That's not really what he said.
What did he say?
He made a joke. He was talking about like the pressure of winning with like a reporter, and he grabbed a Buck staffer and he said, "Hey, if we don't win this year, are you fired?" Like he was saying like this is the pressure we all face. Like everyone like has to deal with like the pressure of winning and stuff like that. So he was just basically saying like, yeah, there's expectations and we have to deal with them.
Okay. These quotes on Twitter are dangerous, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you got to get the context. Moving over to the West, Trey Murphy got an extension from the New Orleans Pelicans. I need to find the exact number. I think it's down here. I think it's 4 years, 112. Okay, 4 years, 112. So it's about 28 per season for a role player, high-level role player who's still young and might grow. Not a bad deal at all. I think that's a good deal. I think Trey Murphy's a real good player. Obviously, he's going to miss some time to start the year, but Pelicans have a good roster, man. They just need to stay healthy. They need to figure out the Brandon Ingram thing, and then they need to rock from there.
They benefit from bringing a big guy, too. Rob would be a guy I would watch for them, even though Rob already hurt himself, right? He's already dealing with some shit.
He's already hurt.
The season hasn't even started. Son of a bitch. It sucks. Love Rob. But I like New Orleans this year. I mean, we did the predictions, and I think I had them probably higher than they should be. I just think Murray's a good fit there. he thinks he's a good fit there too. He's happy to not be playing next to Trey Young anymore. He had a quote about that where he talked about his role being different. Said this to Chris Clark, one of the beat reporters. He goes, "In Atlanta, I was in the corner on the wings and I made the best of it. Here, they're allowing me to play my real position, playing point guard, keeping everything organized and making dudes better and doing what I do best." He certainly wasn't allowed to do that in Atlanta. I never thought that was going to work. I said it to you. Just always felt like it was forcing a square peg in a round hole. It just was not going to pan out for the Hawks, and it clearly didn't. They have been just middle of the pack. They were notorious for being 500. I think the Pelicans really could use somebody like that. They were having CJ run point guard for years. They had Jose coming off the bench, and he's a good spark plug guy, but he's not a starter. Murray is an all-star level player when he's at his best. And if New Orleans gets that Murray, along with a, let's just say 80% healthy Zion, they could be one of the sneaky teams in the West too. The West just is in that weird spot where you have some old teams, some young teams, mostly young teams that are all going to be fighting for the top and wanting home court and wanting to go play deep into May and June. The Pelicans are one of those why not them teams. And the answer is because they have no center except for Tice.
Yeah, they've got Yves Missy too, who they drafted, so maybe they're going to develop him a little bit. You heard the thing about them playing a smaller lineup with Zion and Herb Jones kind of doing committee there. So we'll see how it looks. But speaking of the Pelicans, Dejounte Murray recently spoke about the Hawks and how he's much more comfortable in what the Pelicans are asking him to do. He said, "In Atlanta, I was in the corner and on the wings. I made the best of it here." This is from Chris Clark. "Here, they're allowing me to play my real position, playing point guard, keeping everything organized and making dudes better and doing what I do best." And in DeJounte's defense, he had the best year of his career when he was playing point guard in San Antonio. He was one of the best defensive guards in the league. He led the league in steals. He was an all-star. And that wasn't the case because the fit in Atlanta was weird because they already had a ball-dominant point guard, and now he's probably going to have the ball in his hands once again with the Pelicans. So I'm excited to see what it looks like, and we'll have to see.
I just talked about this. I think it's snuck in with the lag.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
I read the quote. I said Chris Clark, and I was like, yeah, I think if they get All-Star Murray, they could really compete.
It either lagged or I was preparing the next thing. I thought you were just saying, like, all I heard, like, in my brain at least, was, like, I think Murray's a good fit there. And I thought you were, like, leading me up for a transition. So I don't know if I just missed
I set you up. I was like, oh, no, like, it goes in with what I'm going to talk about. I'll go into it.
My fault.
I mean, it's true. Like, he really is going to have an opportunity to have the ball in his hands again. And you mentioned it. He was at his best with the Spurs. That's why I never thought the Atlanta trade made sense when it happened. I wasn't moved. I wasn't like, holy shit, this makes the Hawks scary. It really didn't. And, like, you think about it, last year he had that Kobe game, but a good game nonetheless against the Celtics where he had 40-something points. And I think Trey Young didn't play that day.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, it's such a weird fit, or it was a weird fit with the Hawks that I'm excited to see him in a situation where he can play point again. But
well, that was one thing. He wasn't like a knockdown shooter guy with the Spurs either.
No.
Like it wasn't let's play this guy off the ball. Like he's going to be. I mean, you could say the same about Derek White. His numbers weren't great before he joined the Celtics.
He shot well in Atlanta too. Like he was like a 38% shooter last year, so he grew into the role, which I think could help him more now. But we'll see how it works out. With more of an off-ball guard next to him in CJ, who I still think is underrated. Like people just don't talk about CJ McCollum anymore. He's a fine player.
You go to New Orleans, you just get buried. It happened to Holiday. Yeah,
it's true. The G League is implementing a new heave rule, and I'll let you outline it because you put it in here.
Yeah, so this rocks. The G League is so they often do this. One notable rule that they've experimented with is if you go to a G League game, you watch a G League game, when a guy gets fouled, he shoots one free throw for 2 points. It's different. It's something that the league's trying out. It would speed up the games. It would limit dead time where guys are standing around waiting for the free throw shooter to get the ball, shoot it, put it up, whatever. The rule they are going to experiment with this year, a new one, is end of period heaves will be adjusted. They will no longer count as a missed field goal, and they will be a missed team field goal attempt if, one, the missed field goal attempt takes place in the final 3 seconds of the first 3 periods of the game, and two, the missed field goal attempt must take place from beyond the outer edge of the center circle. So, like, you'd have to be about 36 feet from the basket, the league says. And three, The play must originate in the backcourt. So this means, Jack put it pretty well before we started the show, players will now basically in the G League have an and one rule where the shot is found money. If it goes in, they get credit for the make. If they miss, it doesn't go against them. And this is a huge thing because we've seen players, and if you're familiar with Worldwide Wob on Twitter, he has several clips of this where players will just avoid taking the long range shot because they don't want to affect their field goal percentage at the end of quarters. And it kind of sucks. We got to see a lot in the finals, in the playoffs from Peyton Pritchard, who was notorious for knocking on these long range heaves, the prayers, they were answered, whatever. And it was super exciting. The Garden came up and was super loud after he knocked the one down in game 5, made one in game 2, made one against the Cavs. And it's almost like he was the reason for this rule. The league saw on a big stage somebody willing to take the shot, the reactions when the shot went in, the excitement that came on social media with the clip going around and people getting eyes on the game that weren't necessarily watching the game. They're like, shit, we can create more of these viral moments if we just encourage players to take this shot. And you can kind of get it, right? Like, if you're an NBA player, you don't want your field goal percentage to be affected, even as stupid as it sounds when we say it. You don't want it to be affected by these shots because, one, fans will hold it against you, which they all care about. What do they fucking care about us? But if they're in contract negotiations, teams are going to pull the numbers and be like, look, you're not as good as this guy. Why should we pay you what he makes? Well, if they just don't take shots that are obviously going to ruin your percentage, you're going to benefit from that. And now, if this goes well in the G League, you can imagine in a year or two, it'll probably come to the NBA and they'll encourage it, which will be good. It'll be good for the product.
Yes, I kind of hope it never makes it to the NBA because I like the distinction of which players care more about the team and which care more about their own stats. I like that because there are very clearly players who will hold the ball and not shoot it. Malcolm Brogdon, where there are players.
Jayson Tatum, he does it too.
I know Tatum does it too. They all do it, which I respect the guys who don't do it. And I think more people need to not do it. I understand it from the perspective that you said of like people bringing up in contract negotiations, your stats.
Those numbers are tied
I get it.
To you.
I 100% understand. So I realistically do think it'd be good if it came up, but I also do like I like that this like Peyton Pritchard is like, fuck yeah, respect. You don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's lame when guys hold it and then throw it up after the buzzer and all that. Like, I just think,
don't throw it up at that point.
Well, I just think like if you just make this rule, it's such an easy fix. People have been asking for this for years.
I agree, and I do.
Oh, I see. Jack's mic has perished for the moment. But yeah, I wrote about it for Celtics blog. I really think Pritchard had a large part to do with this because everybody's watching these finals games. He's making these shots on such a big stage. The league is seeing the way people are reacting to these highlights. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to keep an eye on going forward. I want to see the rule go into place.
Am I back now?
Yes. Good timing.
I sat up from my chair. My mic came unplugged, and then I was sitting up, and I kicked my cord, so my HDMI came out of my computer, so I couldn't see anything. It was a mess.
Oh, no.
Last thing before we get into the rat list here is WNBA Finals Game 5 I want to talk about. Do you know anything from this?
I saw people complaining.
Perfect. Then I can break down what happened for you. So Game 5 of the WNBA Finals was last night. It was the Liberty and the Lynx, and the Lynx got fucking robbed. And the coach said as much on the post-game podium. She said, first of all, the free throws are 25-8 in the WNBA Finals. The Liberty shot 25 free throws. The Lynx shot 8. And Cheryl Reeve, who is the coach of the Lynx, went up there and said, quote, all the headlines will be Reeve cries foul, bring it on, because this shit was stolen from us. And she said, if we would have turned that clip in, they would have told us that it was marginal contact, not a foul, guaranteed. And what she is referencing is with about 10 seconds to go, the Liberty had the ball. Breanna Stewart had the ball, and she drove, and they called a foul, and she sunk 2 free throws to send the game to overtime. And have you seen the foul, Sam?
No.
Okay. Well, this was the foul that decided the WNBA Finals. They called this a foul. Breanna Stewart got 2 free throws, and then they went over.
Looked like a travel first.
It was. They also missed just one of the most blatant travels you ever seen. And then they called this a foul, and it looks like she hits her arm from this angle, but she did not. There's another angle. She didn't touch the arm. They called this a foul, got 2 free throws, sent to overtime. They said she didn't have legal guarding position, which she beats Breanna Stewart to the spot.
Yeah.
And then barely touches her. Breanna Stewart initiates all the contact and also traveled, and they called that a foul. Went to overtime, and then the Liberty won. So people were not pleased, and I don't blame them. I was rooting for the Lynx, so I was kind of pissed off.
What I can say is this is good for the WNBA. If you have people upset about your product, that means people care. It's a step forward. I mean,
it was very fun.
The way that the
was
rookies
incredible
impacted
finals.
The league this year, the discussion that they helped fuel throughout the summer with the NBA being off and people shifting their attention to the WNBA with, that being the basketball at the time and the amount of interest people have taken in it this season. It's really good for the growth of the league. I'm sure the players will start to get paid more money. I know they're organizing is it 3-on-3 that they're going to have the ladies playing in the winter this year? So some of the top players will be playing there. So if you're just a basketball junkie, that is the thing for you. It's good to see all the attention. It's good to kind of, as silly as it sounds, see haters, people complaining about players and having players they don't like. Having personality in your game is important. That's how you drive viewership. That's how you get people to care. People not liking Caitlin Clark is a good thing. People getting mad at Angel Reese is a good thing. Even if you don't think it's necessarily good for like humanity. Oh, they always have to hate something. Well, if people aren't hating something, then they don't care.
And unfortunately, that is the way it is. That sucks, though. It's called Unrivals. It's a 3v3 league, ironically being co-founded by Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, who are on the Lynx and the Liberty.
Are they the two subjects? I know Breanna Stewart's the one that got fouled. Did she get fouled by the other co-founder?
No, but Nafisa Collier is like the best player on the Lynx. Like she's unbelievable. And Nafisa Collier posted this to her Instagram after the game. This was not a foul.
Sounds like we got a bunch of Max Struessers out here.
This was a foul. I mean, I get it.
If the Celtics got drafted out of a title like that, I'd probably never stop talking about it. I'd be like, Adam Silver had it out for our boys.
It was an insane series. Like every single game was down to the wire. There were 2 overtime games. It was fucking awesome. Bunch of losers on Twitter being losers about it. But also, before we get to the rat list, Jalen Green just signed a 3-year, $106 million contract extension. So that's like 35-ish.
How many million?
106. So like 35-ish.
I think you said 160. I was like, my God.
No. Anyways, let's go to the rat list here. Sam, what do you have?
First and foremost, I will rat list the weather. The weather cannot decide what it would like to be. We are at the time of year where you get dressed.
Bar for bar, what I was going to say.
You get dressed for one season in the morning, and then you go about your day, and you go outside, and it's summer again. I think it was yesterday. I wore long sleeves. When I started my day, I went to the gym. I was in the gym. Obviously, they don't have the AC on. They have the heat on because it's been freezing all week. I'm in there fucking dying. I don't sweat in the gym. I sweat when I run because that's like a more physical taxing thing. You're not moving around as much in the gym. I'm sure plenty of people sweat, but it's different for me. I don't know. I can't explain it. Nonetheless, people will just be like, oh, wear layers. I don't want to wear layers. I want to wear one outfit. I want to pick one set of clothes for the day. I don't want to have to worry about if I'm going to get hot later on. So yes, I will rat list the weather.
I agree. It's low 50s last week. It's fucking 71 when I walk outside my house today. Like, stop. Like, pick one. I hate it, dude. 70 degrees in October should be a war crime. I will rat list planning. There's nothing I hate more than making decisions. I hate it's particularly decisions that will like impact other people, right? Like even small things. Like we were out, my buddy and I, and we were like get a like split a case of beer or whatever. Like we were going to like a party with friends, whatever. And he goes, Jack, pick what we're drinking. I'm like, I don't care, whatever you want. He goes, no, we're not leaving till you make the decision, because he knows how much I hate shit like that. And I just sat there and I picked something. He goes, no, I don't want that. And I'm just like sitting here like, fuck you, like in shambles, right? And so this week, I think I've said it here before, I was wheel spun to plan this like dinner we do monthly with all of our friends.
Yes.
Could
That was the first
not,
thing I thought of when
yeah.
you started complaining. I was like, he's going to hate that.
Could not hate it anymore. I called. I made reservations yesterday, but I also have to like, it's supposed to be a surprise, so I had to like plan, tell everybody where to all this stuff. And worst of all, like as much as I like come on here every day and like talk into the mic, talk to Sam, whatever, I am very introverted. Like I don't like being in groups of people. I don't like talking. I have to give a speech at the dinner. Gonna kill.
I also think
I just horrible, terrible day.
I feel the same way. I'm probably a little bit more social, but I think we talk so much, and it's almost like a job, that you just don't want to be fucking bothered sometimes.
It's not even that, man.
I'm not looking to strike a conversation. I'm not looking to, I'm just like, I'm actually horrible.
This is like way before I even started the show. I just like, I would much rather other people talk and me be a part of the conversation than have to initiate. Like, no, I just don't want to. Just let me breathe. Let me be quiet. Let me be in the background. I'll be chilling. But I have to give like a speech at this dinner thing, and I just, I don't want to. I just really don't want to. But yeah.
See, I think I like the public speaking stuff. Like I would like a speech.
No,
I just don't like having to like. You ever? I went. So my
small
girlfriend
talk
had
is
like
the worst.
Small
talk is
nothing I hate more than small talk. I
Yep.
would rather just go home, not see anybody. My girlfriend had like a housewarming party over the summer, and like I went to it, and like I was just talking to like one of the friends' boyfriends who like I don't even know. He's like telling me about AI and stuff, and I was like, all right, man. Like I'm like, how do I get out of this conversation? I got nothing for you. I was tired. It'd been a long day, just talking to him about nothing. I'm like, how do people do this? Some people do that stuff for like a job where they have to like mingle and network. I mean, we kind of do it because we know the people in our space and we know the different beat writers and all that stuff, but we have like a common interest with them. It's a little different. Like we all like the same thing.
Yeah. Listen, I hate having to talk in front of people. I hate having to make decisions. I'm just not a fan at all. I don't like it.
Man, I don't have. Oh, you know what? Yes, I do. I was going to
Mm.
say this before I thought of the other thing. Rat List is this whole Trump McDonald's thing. Did you see this?
Yeah.
So if you don't know, yesterday on Twitter, it was going crazy. Everybody was talking about Trump because Trump went and supposedly worked a shift at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania or something. And there's video. He shows up. He's like, I'm working today. I'm making the fries. He's like, can I make them extra salty? They say no. And then he dumps the whole thing of salt on the fries. He has some lady show up to the drive-thru. And then somebody like posts on Twitter in relation to the video. They either replied or quote tweeted it, like a notice on the door of that McDonald's that it was closed. And then everybody that doesn't like Trump was like, he's such a fraud. He went to like he tried to fake this. And then like other people were like I think just people that are just spectators were like, yeah, of course, like he didn't have the McDonald's open. People tried to kill him like 3 times in the last like 6 months. Of course, I don't think any presidential candidate would do that. But the whole thing was such a spectacle and so hilarious. And I'll say this. If he doesn't win the election next month, those Trump at McDonald's videos are going to be everywhere. That's going to be the meme. Like as soon as the results drop, it's going to be Trump after the election. It's just McDonald's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Absolutely not. I hate that you brought it up. All right.
Appreciate
y'all for tuning in.
That has nothing to do with either of one of us. It's still funny. You can admit something's funny.
Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to How About Them Celtics, and I will let Sam take it out.
Thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you subscribe, leave a like, comment, tell us what you think of opening night. It's finally here. We made it. The summer's over. Celtics are back. Banner going up in 14 hours from when this drops. It's going to be awesome. Jack and I are going to be there. Make sure you subscribe and follow along because we'll have pregame from the Garden. We'll have postgame from the Garden. That'll be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Hit the bell so you don't miss any of the regular uploads. Full pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps the morning after each game. Other videos in between to keep you up to speed with all things Celtics. We're also live for pregame a half hour before each game. We're here on the channel. It's a ton of fun. Talking C's will be back. We also have all pods and recaps up on Spotify and Apple. So if you just want the audio, it's there for you. Give us a follow. It'll go right into your feed. You can also email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. We love to hear from you. Danny Hanley, go ahead and email us. You know you're gonna. It's going to be excellent. Make sure you give us a follow on socials too at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's the name of the pod. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's at JacksMonNBA. Mine's at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.
Tic-tac-toe.